Yeah, Steph is been, I assume, the player you've worked with the most now at this point, which
Yeah.
is maybe a little weird to...
Yeah, it's
to put it that
crazy
way.
to think about that. Someone told me, he's approaching 400 games, and I was like, it's a lot of training sessions.
It is
A lot of training sessions, and so it's what an amazing accomplishment, though.
How has he differed, though, from, you've worked with, real, genuine legendary players, and I'm just curious how he is different and what traits you've seen that are sort of maybe consistent throughout these top goalkeepers.
I mean, as he's played so many games, his experience comes out in games. He just takes up good angles. He doesn't beat himself. Those are the things I think all top goalkeepers have, is that consistency you're looking for. I mean, he's totally different now than when I first got him here. I think if you guys remember, it was a little bit different in the early years and everything else, but now to go and to win every trophy possible, and it's unbelievable to see.
Yeah, he has won, I think, I'm sure he's the only player that's ever won the Canadian, the U.S. Open, the MLS Cup, Supporter Shield, and CONCACAF.
U.S. Open, yeah, and I didn't even know about the Canadian one. It's crazy.
Three of those.
Wow. Yeah, I wasn't following those.
No, I knew those weren't. But is there something about him that, he hasn't won a lot of individual accolades, but his trophy case is as full as anyone's.
Yeah, I suppose it's not someone we start the season out by saying, hey, let's get goalkeeper of the year or something like that. But after finals, it is pretty awesome to see, and I think there's been a few finals where he's been voted the MVP or MVP of a tournament or something like that. To me, that's bigger because that's his team thing. It's not an individual. Obviously, he gets the MVP award, but it took the whole team for to help him get it. But it's crazy to see that he hasn't won goalkeeper of the year, if you're asking that.
Yeah. And he talked a lot about when he came here and how his confidence was at an all-time low. He effectively hadn't played for 2 years, but you and Siggy specifically really sort of brought that confidence back, and apparently from the very beginning made sure that you knew you wanted him, even though you had, Marcus was here.
Yeah, we had some young guys as well, and I remember, just sitting in meetings and just saying, look, we're winning games. And if we pull the goalkeeper now, we don't know what we're going to have. Did I think it was going to turn out where he was going to, go and play 11 seasons for the Sounders? No, but I think with a lot of young goalkeepers, if you see him in training getting better and you see him in training making saves, then, you have to kind of you got to give him that confidence. If you start yanking guys here, it's not fair for the backup. It's not fair for the starter. Especially if you're seeing them make those improvements. And I always go back to that year when we played the Timbers in the Open Cup. That's when I think he really started to turn things around at Starfire there. He was fantastic in that game. The rest was kind of history for him.
When it comes to being a goalkeeper, what is it about him that keeps him at a top level, knowing that he really hasn't had any competition that, except for this year maybe where, Thomas is doing as good as he is, but what's kept him at that level consistently?
I think some of it is through the years he's had some competitions, whether it was, as mentioned before, at Marcus he had to kind of keep, and Marcus coming, from the Premier League and those things, and then, maybe later it was Troy Perkins, who was a veteran player that came in, that had a lot of experience as well, and then, we had drafted some young guys, Tyler Miller, we were really, and then you had Steph Cleveland, now you have Andrew Thomas, and I think that's actually what's kept him sharp. And then also too, for him to really answer, he's the first one in the facility. I mean, if you guys are here, he's the first one in the facility getting himself right and ready every day. So I would say those are the keys there.